An Ivorian journalist just said East Africa shouldn't host AFCON 2027. He claims their infrastructure is so bad, it would take 2 days to drive between host cities. He described parts of the region as bush. The entire region is furious. But here is what many people would want to know. Is he actually right? We thought it would be wise to examine Mamadou Gaye's statements about East Africa. We'll compare East Africa's infrastructure to Morocco's. We'll look at whether the EAC is ready. And we'll answer the real question. Should CAF take AFCON away from East Africa? Let's get into it. First, let's establish who we're talking about. Mamadou Gaye is an Ivorian sports journalist who has covered African football for years. His opinion matters because he's been around the game and has seen multiple AFCON tournaments. His main claims: 1. East African countries lack proper infrastructure. 2. Travelling between host cities could take 2 days by road. 3. He described certain areas as bush, implying they're undeveloped or uninhabitable. 4. He urged CAF to take AFCON away from the EAC and give it to countries with better infrastructure. East African football fans and officials were furious. They felt this was disrespectful to the region, inaccurate and exaggerated, ignored the progress being made, reinforced negative stereotypes about East Africa. Social media erupted. People demanded he apologize. Some called it arrogance, others called it ignorance. We're not here to pile on or defend blindly. We're here to fact-check. He made specific claims. Let's test them. Because here's the thing. You can look at his statement as positive criticism, highlighting real challenges that need addressing. However, for a journalist at his level, I would expect him to be more selective and articulate with his word selection. Calling places bush and portraying them as completely undeveloped is not constructive, it's inflammatory. So let's break down what he said, what's true, and what's misleading. Let's start with the most viral claim. It takes 2 days to drive between host cities in East Africa. The 3 EAC countries hosting AFCON 2027 are Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Let's look at actual distances. Nairobi, Kenya, to Kampala, Uganda. Distance, about 590 kilometers. Drive time, about 13 hours, depending on border crossing. Flight time, 1 hour. Daily flights, quite a number. Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, to Nairobi, Kenya. Distance, approximately 800 kilometers. Drive time, 12 to 16 plus hours. Flight time, 1.5 hours. Daily flights, the same. Kampala, Uganda, to Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Distance, approximately 1,450 kilometers. Drive time, 20 plus hours. This is the extreme case. Flight time, 2 hours. Daily flights, available. The 2 days claim is exaggerated for most routes, but technically possible if you're talking about the absolute longest journey, Kampala to Dar es Salaam by road. But here's the thing. Nobody is expecting fans to make that drive. That's what flights are for. Teams will fly. Officials will fly. Most fans will fly. The idea that people will be driving cross-country for tournament matches is absurd. But here's what is true. Let's be honest. East Africa does have infrastructure challenges. Road infrastructure in rural areas is poor compared to North Africa. Train networks are limited. No high-speed rail like Morocco. Internet connectivity can be spotty outside major cities. Hotel capacity in smaller cities will be stretched. These are real issues, but they're not unique to East Africa. Many AFCON hosts have faced similar challenges. What about the stadiums? Now, Gaye mentioned bush areas. Let's address this directly. The main stadiums being used are Talanta Stadium, Nairobi, Kenya. Still under construction, set to be completed by early 2026, being built to high standards as a major venue for AFCON 2027. Namboole Stadium, Kampala, Uganda, being renovated to CAF standards, accessible though traffic can be heavy on match days. Hoima Stadium, Uganda, a bit farther from the airport, but manageable with proper planning. Benjamin Mkapa Stadium, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. National Stadium, well established. These aren't dirt fields in the middle of nowhere. These are legitimate stadiums in major cities that meet CAF requirements. To call them bush is simply inaccurate and disrespectful. Now, if we're being completely honest, Morocco's infrastructure is superior. Let's not pretend otherwise. What Morocco has, Africa's first high-speed rail, Al Barak TGV, modern highways connecting all major cities, world-class stadiums, some already built for previous tournaments, experience hosting major tournaments, AFCON 1988, World Cup 2030 co-host, established tourism infrastructure, hotels, airports, Transport Morocco is ready to host AFCON tomorrow if needed, no question. But here's what this misses. 1. Morocco doesn't need AFCON right now. They are being looked at to co-host the FIFA World Cup in the coming years. They've had their turn, and so have other nations with better infrastructure. 2. North Africa has dominated hosting. Morocco, 1988, and the recently concluded one. Egypt, 1959, 1974, 1986, 2006, 2019. Tunisia, 1965, 1994, 2004. Algeria, 1990. Libya, 1982. Meanwhile, East Africa, Central Africa, minimal. Parts of West Africa, limited. If we only give tournaments to countries that already have perfect infrastructure, the same countries will host forever. Infrastructure improves because you host tournaments, not before. South Africa's infrastructure leap for 2010 World Cup. Tournament driven. Egypt's stadium renovations for 2019 AFCON. Tournament driven. Gabon and Equatorial Guinea's improvements for 2012 AFCON. Tournament driven. East Africa deserves the same opportunity. Now let's be honest about travel costs. Intra-African flights are notoriously expensive, often more expensive than flying to Europe or Asia. This is a continent-wide problem affecting travel to both Morocco and East Africa. However, for certain regions, East Africa might offer better connectivity. More African airlines operate routes to Nairobi and Dar es Salaam, Ethiopian, Kenya Airways, Rwandair. For fans from Central and Southern Africa, East Africa can be more direct. The three-country setup, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, provides multiple entry points. But we won't pretend flying within Africa is cheap. It's expensive everywhere, which is why both Morocco and East Africa need to ensure good value for fans who make the journey. So, why should East Africa host AFCON 2027 despite the infrastructure challenges? 1. Developmental impact hosting AFCON forces investment. Since being awarded the tournament, new stadiums have been built, Talanta, Hoima. Existing stadiums are being renovated, Namboul, Macapa. Airport upgrades are happening. Hotel construction has accelerated. None of this would have happened without the hosting opportunity. The tournament is already improving infrastructure before it even happens. 2. Geographic diversity and Pan-African principle. AFCON isn't just about who has the best highways. It's about celebrating African football across the entire continent. Hosting history. West Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Senegal, multiple times. North Africa, dominated as we've seen. Southern Africa, South Africa, and Angola. Central Africa, Gabon/Equatorial Guinea. East Africa. Ethiopia is the only East African nation that has hosted the Africa Cup of Nations, AFCON. Some could say Sudan, but it often isn't considered an East African country geographically. So perhaps it's time the bigger East African picture got their shot. If East Africa, beyond just Ethiopia, never gets a chance, then when will the region get the opportunity to test itself for bigger stages like these? Every region deserves its moment. East Africa has waited long enough. 3. Football culture and passion. East Africa has passionate, dedicated fan bases, growing domestic leagues. Tanzanian Premier League is rising. Kenyan FKF Premier League has potential. Rich football history. Uganda Cranes, Harambee Stars, Taifa Stars. Young, football-crazy populations. They deserve to host their heroes. They deserve to experience AFCON on home soil. 4. Precedent. Successful hosts with challenges. Remember when people doubted Equatorial Guinea could co-host in 2012? They pulled it off. Remember concerns about Gabon's readiness in 2017? Successful tournament. Even Egypt 2019 faced skepticism about readiness. They delivered. Challenges can be overcome with planning, investment, and commitment. So, after all this analysis, was Mamadou Gaye right about East Africa? Here's the thing. Mamadou Gaye wasn't entirely wrong about the infrastructure gaps. East Africa's infrastructure is behind Morocco's. The roads are rougher in places. The logistics will be more complex than hosting in North Africa. But he made critical mistakes. 1. Word choice and framing calling areas bush and portraying them as if there was completely no development, as if areas were uninhabitable and impassable. That's not journalism. That's insulting. He framed it as a reason to take away the tournament or postpone it, rather than as a challenge to overcome. If his point was, East African countries should do their best to create an environment that makes the tournament a success, he'd be right. If his point was, only rich countries should host tournaments, he's wrong. 2. What he got wrong. The 2 days claim is misleading. Teams and most fans will fly. Ignored that stadiums like Talanta, Nambour and Macapa are legitimate venues, not bush fields. Ignored the developmental benefits of hosting. Ignored that infrastructure is already improving because of the tournament. Dismissed East Africa's legitimate right to host after never having the opportunity. 3. What he got right. Infrastructure gaps compared to Morocco are real CAF needs to ensure proper investment and support. Logistics will be more challenging than in more developed regions. There are legitimate concerns about hotel capacity and transport in smaller cities. The real question, does this mean we should only give opportunities to countries that are already perfect? Or do we invest in countries with potential and help them grow and improve? Only being told that these countries could host has led to construction of new stadiums, renovations of old ones, airport upgrades, hotel development. All of this wouldn't have been pushed to be done if the hosting opportunity didn't come up. I think East Africa deserves its shot. To be honest, we can't expect the level of Morocco to be in East Africa. You're talking about a country that has hosted AFCON more than once and is later being eyed to co-host the World Cup, compared to countries that haven't hosted a single AFCON. You obviously can't expect the same level of development, but we believe they can try their best and they will host what they can manage. The infrastructure isn't Morocco level, but that's not a reason to cancel, it's a reason to invest. East Africa has never hosted AFCON. They deserve their turn, and if we're being honest, tournaments like this are how infrastructure improves. However, this should be a wake-up call to the East African nations to improve their infrastructure across different sectors so as to avoid such statements and situations in the future. Prove Mamadou Gaye wrong by hosting a great tournament. Show the world that East Africa can deliver. What do you think? Should East Africa host AFCON 2027, or should CAF move it to one of the 5 or 6 countries with more established infrastructure that he referenced? Drop your take in the comments. And if you want more analytical videos like this, hit the like and subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you know when we have something new up. See you in the next one. Peace.